TGIF Warriors. Hello, Alexander. Hope everyone had a decent week. Sinatra, Mike, Fran. Okay. Don't blow your account. That's correct, Bran. I came in, AJ, Ryan, James, Paul. Okay. So why don't we start off with FX? So yesterday, Canada worked. I think there's potential for 35.70. We could get through this moving average. Should be booking half if you took it.
Especially
BE
with
stops.
Canadian jobs today, too.
Oh, so yeah, there's an even better reason. Okay, so here's the dollar. Kind of looks the same. You know, there's one thing that bothers me that this is just going to be a straight line decline in the Dixie. And I'm not saying that it can't be, but you might want to keep an open mind because it's inside week. Okay, it's probably going to close near the low of the week. And sometimes inside weeks are followed by outside weeks. So what might happen is that we look at 4 hour, that we have something like this. This was A, and then we get a B, maybe around here next week, and then get a C back up towards this resistance level. So, that's something to be aware of. If it had been a reversal week, but last week's range was just so big that all we did was fill it in with an inside week. So that makes me think that there is a chance that we, start off lower next week and attempt another rally to the upside. Um, and that would mean that maybe the pound still does trade down towards the 61.8, and that euro does stall here, before 108. But, this is why I was talking about 108. Was it the weekly? No, it's a daily. And Blake's brought up 108 too and talked about him discussing that with Mark Chandler. So if we get through 108, that really opens the door for 110, 111 up here. So if they're going to take it down one more time, they have to do it here, between here and 108. And, maybe we still do trade, 107-ish again. So just, keep that in mind. I think these were the trades of the year. Silver miners. They're diverging up here. Someone sent me a question, do I add up here? And I said, or wait. And I said, well, I'm waiting. I can't.
I got to say, Dale, and good morning in TGIF. You've been all over these miners for like the last couple of months, so well done. Well done.
Thanks. I wish I would have stayed with all of them, but wish. It's always been my shortcoming in my trading is being able to sit. So that's my challenge every time I do something in the markets. Anyway, so also, may want to keep an eye on yields as well, because, this has kind of a similar pattern of what the dollar could do next week. Is that I do think this is what's a top in yields, but we're already starting this to where we could get an ABC maybe back to 455, 460 next week. So I'd wait for that to buy things like TLT. Maybe TLT pulls back to the bottom of the wedge. We do have CPI next week. And that's it. That's all I have. Crude's trying to get that 80 close. Pretty good week. I think a nice reversal week to the upside. And uranium had another good week. So, and natural gas had a good week. So, um, I'm a pimped tease. Oh, okay. Well, thank you very much.
You
Anyway,
should take that as a compliment, I think.
I don't know what it means.
Me
I know
neither,
what
but it sounds
pimped.
good. It sounds
Uh,
good,
All
Dale.
right, all right, all right. Okay.
Hey,
Anyway, go ahead.
we got a few things happening today that we have we have a few
Who
things
knows what
happening.
it means? I need a translation from Saloon, but go ahead, Blake.
Go on TikTok.
It's on TikTok.
I don't know. I haven't got a clue. Good morning, Dale. Morning.
Okay, guys.
Good
Sorry.
morning,
Go ahead,
Cam.
Blake. It's only for
Yeah, I don't know anything about TikTok, but let's hope that they have some sort of description on what a pimped tease is.
okay.
So Dale, great calls on the miners. Have you guys seen and here I'll just go ahead and
Grab.
I'll grab it for you and give you a little break on a Friday. Um, take a look at gold here. The
Oh yeah,
gold's just absolutely
yeah,
taken off, and and silver is too. By the way,
yeah.
I'm surprised, but we don't have Stelios in here doing the victory laps on silver at the moment. But silver, or excuse me, gold has broken that 2350 level, and that could keep the dollar on its heels. And I know you just pointed out the 108 level of of the euro, and I agree with you. It's like I mentioned to you guys yesterday. I was messaging with Mark Chandler last Friday after the NFP about that resistance, and you can see we knocked our head up against it today. And yeah, we get above maybe even today's highs. We might challenge 108. There's a couple other levels up here around 108 and a quarter. But when you got gold rallying,
Yeah.
you got equity markets around the globe that are rallying. Yes, the S&P is, I would argue is up against resistance, but I don't know if you guys saw the Hang Seng overnight. It's rallying. And it closed. I mean, this is look at the Hang Seng. It's really, really nice rally above a 50% retracement. We broke out last night, and we closed at our highs. I mean, look at this big long-term chart in the Hang Seng. And obviously all the European markets continue to blast higher. I mean, the FTSE goes higher. Cayman, Ryan continue to get stinking rich. The CAC 40, there's a little joke from yesterday. CAC 40 is ripping into the close. Look at the DAX. I mean, we're getting close to that channel, the butterfly target that we've been targeting all week. I mean, we're almost there. I thought it would take at least a week and a half to get there. The rate it's going, it could take a week just to reach over 19,000. So you got all these developments right now. It's hard to see the dollar rally in this environment. So I guess we have to go with that. But Ryan, good morning. What are you seeing out there, and what's got your attention today?
Oh, what's got my attention today? Dollar CAD we got a big option expiry, 136.80.90. No surprise to see the range 72.91 on that. So it's keeping things very tight. Could be something to watch for over the jobs report if it's a half nothing number or half decent number, and we get a push away from those expiries, we may see a bit of a snap back closer to the 10 a.m. New York cut. So
if you guys
keep an eye on
don't
that
see where Ryan's pointing out, these are expiries that's uploaded every day here on a platform. Why is this such a big deal? And when did these expiries roll off, Ryan?
10 a.m. New York, which is 1500 UK time, so 2 hours from now.
Okay, all right. So that's got your attention right at the moment. Do you have any feeling of what the jobs market's going to do, or the Canadian jobs market's going to do? I know you and K-Man like to dig through the data. you know, while you're on the flow show in the morning. So what did you what was your conclusion after looking at what we could expect with dollar CAD? And by the way, Dale, yeah, you made a great call this week, you know, off of these highs here in the dollar CAD, possible triangle, possible, you know, I've been staring at it as more of a triangle, but look, we're pretty much smack dab in the middle, which makes sense ahead of the data. But Ryan, what did you come up with?
Yeah, well, we like to look at Canadian data closely, usually with those you know, comedy glasses that have the eyes on the springs coming out, because this is StatsCan. And they're one of the worst in the world for producing data. But yeah, the market's looking for a positive number, as you just showed there, 20K. You've got to do the same thing. That's the headline to look for. The employment change, whether it's good or bad. Then we look at unemployment rate and match that off against the participation rate. We know the Bank of Canada's leaning towards cutting rather than hiking. So good data would potentially keep them on hold for a bit longer. Bad data will get them looking further towards cut. So that's the way you've got to look at trading this data. But once you're taking the headline, also look at the part-time, full-time revolving door, because it gives you an indication whether positive jobs was good, whether that was in full-time or part-time. It just gives a little underlying note on the strength of or weakness of any jobs data.
And it should be pretty binary today. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
Bad data is bad for the CAD. Ooh, that rhymed. Or, you know, but good data is good, right? I mean, that's really how we should look at it. You know, I would argue that there's a lot of Canadian pairs that are really near key levels. You know, you got this Euro CAD, which is obviously probing really big resistance right now. The CAD yen is the most underperforming yen pair at the moment. So I would venture to guess that a weak jobs report out of Canada is going to elicit a bigger response today, just based on what other markets are doing and how the Canadian has been doing in general. And you know, that would mean obviously the dollar Canadian would be a bigger response, would be a bullish response in the dollar CAD or a bearish Canadian. That would be my view. K-Man, do you feel any different? And how are you looking at the CAD today?
Well,
And
the
good
thing
morning.
is, I completely agree with you that it's going to weigh more, seeing what the Canadian dollar as a whole as a whole has been doing. The issue is that if it's a strong one, the market is going to have to reprice perhaps stuff again. So it's going to be a bit of a binary one, just as you said at the start. And by the way, a weak one could push other people to try and sell US dollar as well, because they say like, oh, look at the American continent, the job market is starting to weaken. So
That's a good point.
looking at it to have a bit more influence than perhaps just on the Canadian dollar as such.
You know, that's a really interesting point you make. And I was just about 45 minutes ago, I was listening to, I can't remember what one of the things that I, do in the mornings, at 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm sure Dale does the same thing, is I listen to a bunch of different, macro podcasts and stuff as I'm kind of looking at charts and getting ready for the day. And somebody was just mentioning how they're just, that we're starting to see incremental data on how weak the Canadian jobs or US jobs market might become, obviously from yesterday's weekly jobless claims. So it's interesting that you put that together, because I could actually see that. I could see people going, ooh, this is a North American thing, not just a Canadian thing. That's what you're basically saying, right, Kay?
Yeah, that's the risk on this. That's the risk seeing the outside move that we saw yesterday on just that weekly report. I just think the market was running a bit long dollars, getting out and getting nervous about some central bank statements, perhaps about F.A.C.E and things. But yeah, and I think that Canadian thing is going to be a bit binary and potentially have a little bit of an impact on other dollar pairs as well if it comes out really, really weak.
Great tie-in. I appreciate that. You know, I want to point out a couple of things about the dollar index, just as a whole. And you know who I just noticed? You guys are in for a treat. We have the best looking dude on our team, Grega Horvat, and also happens to be our in-house Elliotician. He's here. So, Greg, I'm going to bring you in just 1 second. I just want to point something out regarding the dollar index. So we have a nice little double top. It still has some distance to go to complete. The recovery in the dollar didn't negate that because we just stopped at the 618 retracement. Just got a little, some people stopped out of some maybe dollar shorts near term this week, but we hit the 618. Now we have a bearish pennant, which the bearish pennant actually goes a little bit further. You'll see right here than what we would be expecting with the double top. But that could, a continued sell-off in the dollar, or let's just imagine the euro going above 108, could take the dollar down to channel support, which ironically doesn't really disrupt the bullish trend of the dollar if this all completes. I mean, we can make it all the way down to here, Dale, down to 103.50, and still have a nice little uptrend in the dollar overall. So, there's
Nice
some possibilities here.
Yeah. Nice look.
Yeah. Hey, Grega, good morning. How you doing?
Hey, good morning. Doing fine, thanks. How are you?
All right. So what are you seeing right now? I'll look through some of the charts that you posted here, but what's on your radar today?
Today or in general? I mean,
Or in
I'm
general, in general. Let's
in
just say in
general,
general.
I still think, as we already discussed a few weeks back, I think that the US yields are going to top out. Maybe we're already seeing yields topping out here. And I think that sooner or later, dollar will just accelerate to the downside. We have the risk on flows. In my opinion, German DAX has much more upside potential. S&P 500, Nasdaq 100 will follow, I think, to see more gains here. So I think that these risk on flows will stay here, and eventually this will sooner or later push dollar to the downside. But maybe for the real look of the dollar, we should not maybe focus so much on dollar index. Maybe some equal weighted dollar tickers could be a better approach, because, as you know, euro is maybe not the best to consider when we are looking at dollar index, because overall,
I mean, your DAX chart here, this was when we were trading at 17,000 on a monthly count. You were targeting 20,000 just above, and we're not too far away now. We aren't, right? So,
but if you will go to the 4-hour time frame for DAX, okay, that's the one. We are trading in a fifth wave here, up from 17,400. So before we may say that this bull run is coming to an end, we should see 5 waves up. But for now, that's still not the case. You're in a third wave here. So that's why I'm thinking that this risk on flows will stay here. We are actually seeing DAX trading at this level, even accelerating. Okay, so I think that there is still plenty of potential bullish momentum, and maybe this will next week also be visible on the US stocks, which are doing quite well, lagging a bit compared to DAX, but I think that also stocks in the US will eventually do well.
See, and this is kind of like, I want to show you guys something. So here's Grega, looking for, wave 5 to complete. If we build out wave 5 here at the 161% extension at 19,200, and then you look at basic technical analysis and you go, oh wait, and there's a butterfly pattern that takes us to 19,200, which is channel resistance here. And then you look at, the trend indicators of the DAX, and you're like, okay, I see a lot more green than red. This is where you get your, overall bias, on an instrument, utilizing ForexAnalytix. So great stuff, Grega. All right, what else you seeing with the dollar? Because the dollar would be one that's, I think it's got a lot of people, myself included. I've been kind of on the fence this week on how I wanted to play the dollar. I'm definitely positioned now as the week has gone on. But how are you seeing the dollar at the moment?
At the moment, I mean, as I said earlier, dollar index, it's a bit tricky. It's very neutral here. But if I have to pick, I would still go with the commodity currencies. I would buy them versus US dollar. I think that since I mentioned earlier, Hang Seng Index made some very nice break to the upside. I've been highlighting this in the webinar a week back or so, and looks like that this sooner or later will also send Aussie, I think, even higher. We have metals now that are also doing very well. So I don't see any reason why these trends would be reversed at this stage. In fact, if today, which is Friday, final day of the trading week, stocks will stay in this risk on mode, usually on Monday we see continuations, and I think that early next week Aussie could be trading much higher.
Yeah, unless there's some sort of headline risk that hits the market,
Of course.
it seems that way. Well, Grega, and I know I'm just speaking for myself, obviously, but I'm sure Dale and K-Man and Ryan would say the same thing. It's really nice to have you here. Hey, Dale, you always have good questions for Grega. You have anything for him, like what he's thinking?
Yeah, I liked what he was saying about yields in the dollar. I concur with that. Hard to see, equities failing with the weak dollar and lower yields coming. I'm trying to think. Oh yeah, how about WTI, Grega? To me, I know a lot of people are bearish WTI, but we had a nice little reversal, looked like a normal correction in it, and we're trading higher on the week. Was this week's low important in your week, in your work?
I think that if you, Blake, if you go to daily chart,
There it is.
I think that we will keep consolidating here, but eventually later this year, I just believe that we will see a move to the downside. I'm not only crude oil, I also see commodities, ticker from Thomson Reuters, also trading in a temporary corrective movement. So I think that sooner or later we will see these commodity cycles again back to the downside, and that's my opinion when again inflation could cool down. And that's when US yields will come even lower and eventually dollar will get hit. So that's my
So you think
could equities
commodity
get hit with commodities? I mean, could that be part of the reason that commodities are going down, because people are smelling a whiff of deflation and weakness, and you could have lower yields? Blake and I have been trying to figure it out. How can we have a weak dollar and risk off? Can you come up with a case for how we could have risk off with the weak dollar and lower yields?
I don't think we will get the risk off.
Okay. Yeah, there's still melt up guys talking, 7,000 S&P, 6,000 S&P. So really the weakening of the economy, if you're looking for that in commodities, is actually going to be jet fuel. While the economy is beginning to weaken and maybe head towards recession, those forces create a melt up in equities, because the economy and the stock market are not the same thing.
Yeah, of
It's
course.
about financial conditions. So could that be what happens here?
Yeah, but it should be, I mean, when we're talking about the risk off, the only thing when these correlations could break down is that if maybe we are suddenly going to see lower yields because Fed would cut rates because of economic slowdown, so of a recession. If that would be the case, then these correlations would completely break down that we are seeing right now.
Yeah, and when I mean, and just to add to that, I mean, if let's just say we're in a somewhat stagflationary environment with just firmer commodities and slower growth, and the Fed, has to make the hard choice between inflation or growth, and they choose to fight inflation, so they let growth kind of go. This could be an environment where we see stronger commodities and they outperform. Dollar comes down because of growth reasons, but commodity currencies and maybe even commodities just continue to outperform because of the stickiness nature of these prices. There's a thought.
What do you think is going to be behind commodities reverting to a declining trend later in the year?
Are you asking Grega?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Still
think
here,
that
Grega?
Yeah, I think that this will be mostly linked to maybe to to inflation expectations in general, and this will potentially pull down the U.S. yields, pull down the U.S. dollar, and maybe commodities will not just move into some very strong bear market. Maybe we'll just came slightly to the downside. But it doesn't mean that we will see some very strong breakdowns.
Oh,
I
okay.
just think that prices will come to the downside. I think that very strong support when I look at crude oil could be around $50. That doesn't mean it's going to be some very strong bear market. We've been trading around 62 last year, which actually is not that far away from 50.
Right. Okay.
So it
Yeah,
doesn't mean
it's
a bear
going to be
market.
really interesting to what happens with bonds. People believe that the bond market cannot go higher. I mean, there's too much
I
supply.
don't.
I'm not in that camp. But I'm surprised that the ZBs didn't break out a little higher yesterday following the really strong auction. But anyway, hey, great stuff, Grega. Really appreciate you. I'm going to get set up for the Canadian data real quick. But I want to ask, I'm going to go around the horn really quick. For today, Ryan, I know I'd ask you a little bit. Any last minute thoughts before we get into Canadian data here? Actually, let me do this.
Well, I don't think I'm good looking enough to give an answer now after that, what you said about us lot.
Hey, I'm sorry.
with-
You know, he comes from the same country that Melania Trump comes from. She's
well, I don't know.
beautiful.
Kay, we
Greg
might
is
have
a
to
good-looking
change.
dude.
We might have to change the name of the Flow Show to the Foo Bar Show. I think.
Yeah. My hairdresser just committed suicide. Suicide, by the way.
I haven't seen mine for 30 years, Kay.
All right. Hey, we may not be as good looking as Grega, but we still have ideas, right? So anyway, what are you guys thinking? Anything right now before this data comes out? Just to wrap up the week, like thinking into next week, that type of thing.
I'd say keep an eye on the Michigan later as well. It's the flash number. We've got no other US data, and especially just after we saw that, that overreaction on the jobless claims yesterday, just might be an indication that the market wants to hit any bad news it can get in the dollar. So not usually a big number, but as I say, nothing else going on. So market's going to be watching that Michigan number later.
All right, and K-Man, I'm coming to you, but real quick, Horacio, he asked about the Aussie CAD. Pretty strong support here. So on week data, if you're looking at it, maybe that's something that gets. I think the Aussie is pretty firm right now, so maybe that's something that gets us off of this little support here and takes us higher. So yeah, you might want to keep an eye on that Aussie CAD. Sorry, I didn't want to ignore you there. K-Man, what are you thinking? Today into next week, that type of thing.
Binary on the CAD report as well. We talked about that. That Michigan could be, since it's the only one on the US dollar side today, could be see a bit of a move. And then after the Banxico, I'm a bit in a mix, and I'm just watching Euromix drop or slide. Let's put it that way, slide.
Yeah, what are you okay? And just so you guys can see this is a chart. Well, here, I'll just pull it over this way, so I don't mess up everything I just did over here. Let me just put that. I got the Canadian yen and the dollar CAD will just be front and center. But one of the charts that I posted this morning just a little bit ago regarding the Euromex. This is a pretty big level on the Euromex. This is in the ForexAnalytix chat room, guys.
Yep.
But yeah, that level right there, we're trying to breach the 618. If that goes, I mean,
you have a bit of a sliding trend line coming in from above, even I think from October, November.
Yeah.
And that is looking a bit in danger too.
Yeah. Oh, that would be from all the way over here. If I drew it all the way down, I get it. It looks like a little trap door in the market, I would say. Yeah. Interesting. All right. Well, great. I'm gonna put this back over here. Dale, we have less than a minute, I think. Hold on.
10 seconds.
Oh shit. Shoot. Sorry, guys. My bad. Here's my data flash. Here comes the charts and
Better, much better.
Yeah.
wow. Look at that. Holy cow. 90,000. Oh my goodness. And unemployment rate even dropped a bit. Wow. Look at that dollar CAD. That was a wedge just waiting to break out. What a move. Holy cow. All right. Well, now the dollar CAD just came down to support here. So what would you do, K-Man or K-Man? Dale, you had your here, let's go ahead and pull it. You had your nice little short here. Do you buy into this support?
Maybe take profits, but now I think you're going to your bottom line. That's a
Oh,
lot.
okay. Now you think
that
we're
was
going
my
down to
target.
this channel support here.
Yeah.
Now remember, 136 is really big support, guys.
But
These
let
are
me
levels
stress, if you took the trade, you gotta get paid.
that
Make
there
May
we go.
pay. Make
Very
May
good.
pay. So there's a payday on something, a partial at least on this.
Yeah, especially in a day like today where we just didn't have a whole lot going on. Now, K-Man, strong data out of Canada. Does it make you
Yeah.
think you want to do anything with the dollar here?
No, no, not really. No, I'm gonna wait for Michigan now. I mean, I would have known what to do if the report would have been crap, but
Coming off pretty good.
no, not really. I just out of interest because we hear this morning we had Kishida even talking about the yen. So a couple of us in the room have bought a bit of downside in the yen. Not doing cash because it's still so dangerous, but and it's tough to stand in front of the train. We just bought a bit of downside over the US CPI as well. So just in case something is happening. And for the rest, no. So as I said, I'm a little long sterling Swiss. I'm still long euro Swiss. And short euro max, and that's it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, okay, so regarding Japan, we're getting a lot of murmuring, but you know, it seems like the market just wants to, you know, continue to push, because
Can't deny that those yen crosses as well are pushing, huh? Because you saw a weaker dollar yesterday, and then the dollar yen is just hanging around its highs, and that's a bit of a worrying situation. I nobody knows when they will next intervene. Some people are saying they won't come before 165, 170 anymore, but it all depends. If you're trading 160 on Monday, I think they intervened because you will have done like 300-400 points rally. But if it goes up 10, 15 pips a day, who will say that they will ever intervene again? You know, it's one of those situations. I don't know.
I keep getting, I have a couple people actually that just text me like, Japan's so screwed. How can they let this happen to their currency? But they're still trying to import some inflation, right? I mean,
no, I think now they I don't think they try to import inflation. That's not at all the case. But they are okay with a higher inflation if it's actually locally driven by higher wages, especially. Because they in a way, how should I say? In a way, a weaker yen is good for some companies because all those big car makers, the heavy machinery makers, they are making tons of profits, right? And even if you look at the Japanese whales, for as long as they put their money to work elsewhere, they are making huge profits because when they repatriate in yen. But because when they repatriate their profits, they show like really good profits. But no, the thing is, I'm starting to get a little, nervous about because when the prime minister comes in and he talks about a currency, of course it's Japan, but then it starts to feel a little bit perhaps nervous and pushy, perhaps. So that's why I'm buying the downside. But I'm not going to do cash because I said it. I mean, if you sit short even if they hike rates earlier than anyone would expect at the next meeting in June, you're still looking at a month being long yen and paying nearly a
Ouch.
big figure away.
Yeah. Paying a lot of money for that carry.
Only in carry.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah. All right. Well, I'm staying clear of the yen, and to be frank, if I'd rather just buy a dip if we find it, but it's like we can't even get one. So like,
Yeah, the best we get is 40, 50 points on any statement, and then it goes the other way around. Actually, this morning we had a pretty good current account out in March in another life that would have put a bit of support under the end. But now the market, that was a March number, so the market is already trading this fiscal year. March is still last fiscal year, so they completely ignored it as well.
yeah, interesting. All right. Well, thank you for your thoughts, Ryan. Any last minute thoughts before we wrap things up here?
No, not much at all. I'm just keeping an eye on this dollar CAD. It's got a knock through that 136.50, and it hit the lows that we saw just towards the end of April when we had another nudge under 136.50 around the 30 area. So that's becoming a bit of a level, that 136, a bit of a safety net, 36, 30, 40 area. I might have a little nibble again if we see down towards that big area down below where we had that spike lower before.
I'm gonna say this really quick about the CAD, and then because Dale said get paid, cover your shorts. Great call, Dale. But I'm gonna say that I can't tell you the number of Canadian prints that have been blockbuster prints, whether it's inflation or jobs or stuff that just they wheel out on a Friday, and sometimes it just unwinds, and you go, how is that even possible? And I'm not saying that the dollar CAD's going to just turn around and go back to 137 today, but I've seen it, and it's like, and I scratch my head every time. 20 years later, I'm still scratching my head going, I don't know how they can turn the market like that on data that we've seen. But this data was a pretty big beat. And as you see, but be careful if you're short. Be careful.
Yeah, never try and make your week on a Friday.
Yeah, there you go.
It's for book squaring, okay? Unless there's an NFP or something where you have, could have inflection points, but don't try and make your week today.
Stocks are coming off here. I'd see a little bit of some of the futures are starting to roll over as traders coming in on the weekend. You can see here's the S&P over the last 15 minutes. I don't think there's any headlines, but just might see some profit taking as we're up against channel resistance in the S&P. Just
have you given up on looking for a C wave or another decline because we've advanced too much, Blake?
No, I don't. Well, I don't. First of all, I don't count waves. Maybe you should ask Grega.
Well, I mean, you were looking for a
high,
50,
like a
failing rally.
A failing rally, because we're above the 78% retracement. I'm kind of like, I didn't step in front of the market this week. We hit 5,200 where I thought we were going to stop, but I was looking for more of a break back down, and we never got it. So it's like, it's strong. I don't know. Yeah. I have a hard time fading it, especially with all the other markets going higher.
Yeah. Okay.
Globally. So I'm just kind of sidelined, I guess, would be the best way for me to put it on as far as risk goes. Well, Grega, any thoughts going into the weekend?
I don't believe that markets will change the direction on Friday, so better to stick with the current trends or wait till next week.
All right. And Dale, I'm going to pass it off to you. I just want to remind everybody, next week is CPI. We will be covering that live next Wednesday here on the F.A.C.E show, as we always do. We have producer prices the day before on Tuesday, which we'll be covering here live as well. We have the Fed chair, he speaks next week, and we have Aussie employment. And obviously, everybody's going to be watching these employment claims next Thursday because of the excessive miss that we got yesterday. I say excessive. I know Ryan probably laughing at that, but but now it's got the market's attention, obviously. So let's keep an eye on the data next week. Next week's going to be a big one, guys. This week was more of a consolidation week. But Dale, I'm going to pass it over to you, my friend.
All right, listen, Blake and Grega and Brian and K-Man, thank you so much for all the hard work you do to support our community. And I'd like to know, give me a yes, who has made May pay so far? It's only the first week. Guys out there? And let's make it okay. There you go. And let's make it for
Yeah.
people who aren't members of ForexAnalytix. Okay, that aren't members. Okay, Kurt, look at that. He's a cowboy. All right. Well, I'm just saying, if you haven't made, if F.A.C.E didn't help you make May pay, it should have. But that's a tip of the iceberg. So over the weekend, join ForexAnalytix, get used to the navigating around the site, set up the app so you don't have to be tied to your workstation, your trading station all day, and you could be out and about. And if the eyes that make up the team see something, you'll get a push notification on your phone, and you'll be able to act instead of, you could take us with you in your pocket. And so that's a wrap, everyone. Hope we added value, and we'll do it again next week. Remember, don't just count your pips, count your blessings. Remember that I know I'm a pimp tease, and but remember, but remember, really seriously, guys, you're really very fortunate. Everyone who's in here and is I mean trading, that you have discretionary capital to do so, because there are hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of people that have to make a decision between food and medicine and cost of living and try and get through day to day. So I'll end it with, don't just count your pips, count your blessings, and we'll see everyone Monday. Thanks, team. Nice
Thanks,
job
Coach.
this
Have a
week,
great
man.
weekend.
All right,
Yeah.
everyone. Adios.